Hey everyone, how's it going? Elle here. It took me a little bit longer than I'd like for it to have, but I'm gonna go ahead and start presenting my personal opinion and review of Granblue Fantasy Versus. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say, during the beta we were only allowed an online mode, which is perfectly fine. 5 characters are available for us during the beta. They'll appear on the screen right here, and they are Gran, Catalina, Charlotta, Lancelot, and Fairy. I won't go into too much depth with each character, as I'm just going to be giving my thoughts and review of the game. I will be going over them a bit, however. So for Gran, he's your standard Ryu-like character, very vanilla. He just has everything you would expect. He has a fireball, a DP, a lunge type move with a follow-up hit, and it has some decent range on it as well. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Gran, as I didn't mess with him a whole lot, and his gameplay isn't very complex from what I've seen. Catalina is, well, the way I can describe her, is a neutral heavy character. She has big pokes. She has a counter parry like move off of her unique action. She has a fireball, a DP, and a lunge move. She's a very strong character, and her punish game is very good because of her range off of her moves. She can also put on some good pressure at the wall of her unique action to try and bait the other player out. I didn't really mess around with Charlotta too much, but she's a very fun character to play from what I've experienced. Now, Charlotta, she is a good character. Her size is very confusing, and it just makes her inputs look very ambiguous. She's fairly quick, and you can test the reflexes of your opponent if you know how to play her right, and you have all access to a strong 50-50 mix-up. You can go into a cross-up, a low, or an overhead. She also has a very strong JA that, to me, seems to last forever, and has a very deceptive large hitbox than what I thought it would have been. In my opinion, she's possibly the best character in the game, rather in the beta. As for Lancelot, Lancelot is a very solid character, very quick, very solid options. His unique action being an overhead teleport. He has a projectile, a DP, and he has very strong options in the corner for Oki. Only thing I can say about him is he can struggle at a distance, but if you're able to get in on your opponent, you can keep your pressure going until you either win the round or get knocked out of your pressure. And Lancelot, to me, is a very strong contender for the best character, but I feel like he falls short under Charlotta with his options compared to hers. This can still be debated, as we didn't really get much time to deal with them during the beta, so who knows? Maybe Lancelot is better. But for right now, I'm labeling him as number 2. And lastly, we have Fairy. Now there are gonna be some messed up people out there, but we're not talking about them. Fairy is a zoning character. She has a very good keep out game. She has plenty of options to keep the other person at bay, with her 5M, 2M, 2S, 5S if they're close. Now, I'll go ahead and say I have no idea what to label the unique actions as. So, until I'm told otherwise, or until something's figured out, I'm going to continue calling it S. Now, Fairy is the character I spent most of my time playing throughout the beta, and I enjoyed playing her the most. While her zoning game is very strong, it's not to say it's invincible, as her hitbox does extend with some of her inputs. And some of her moves, like 2M, are unsafe on block. So this can balance her out for her long range. But as far as her moves go, she has a long range attack grab that I think the in EX version of it, or the heavy version, goes through projectiles. She has a DP and a form of trap, I guess you could say, and a multi-hitting move that I think hits behind her as well. But I haven't really tried that out, as I've always been in front of my opponent, never really had them behind me, so who knows? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I really don't know. Now, interestingly enough, one of her Skybound arts is an install. And that install basically allows her to just Gatling moves out that would otherwise never work in normal strings. I didn't really use her install too much because I didn't really find too much use out of it outside of, pressure. But it is a very threatening option for her. Her other Skybound art is similar to characters with multi-hitting Fireball that you could use for pressure. But while she is a strong character in a neutral, she does struggle getting out of up-close pressure. So with that, you want to keep in mind, and you want to keep the neutral in your favor. Because if you're caught in pressure, you will just want to find your way out of it, as she does tend to struggle in that a lot. If I were to rank the characters from best to worst of the beta, and this is also not really saying worst as in absolutely not playable, but just how I feel they fare up, I would say from best to worst, Charlotta, Lancelot, Fairy Catalina, and Gran. Now, again, it's not to say that the characters are superior to the other ones, it's just how I feel about them personally. If you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Give me your reason as to why you think these characters shouldn't be where I placed them, and where you think they should be at, or what you think your list is. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But again, like I said, this doesn't mean that Gran is unplayable, it's just how I felt Gran was compared to these characters. I mean, once the game comes out, Gran might be a very strong character. He is a strong character. But this is just how I think of them in a form of ranking. Now, enough about the characters. We'll go ahead and get into how the game plays. At first, you would think the game plays like your traditional anime fighter with double jumps, air dashes, etc. However, you'll find that isn't really the case. The game doesn't play like how you would expect to play anime fighters like Guilty Gear or Under Night. The game feels more like Samurai Showdown or Street Fighter, just how neutral heavy it is. And from what I found, there are no fancy complex combos off of strings like 2A, 5A, 2M, 5M or whatever, but rather most of the strings that were done that I saw or that I did were 5A, A into special, or 5M depending on the type of Punisher hit that was being done. And I've also had moments during gameplay where my opponent and I would just kind of sit pixels away from each other and just play footsies until someone got hit or someone slipped. And even though the game is neutral heavy, it's not to say pressure isn't possible, as there are crazy pressure setups at the wall or Oki setups that you can get off their wake up that one could do during the other person's wake up or potential mix-ups. But all of that is just really a matter on how one learns how to play the characters and learns how to play the game. Whenever the game comes out, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to figure out, or someone's going to figure out a lot of crazy options with Lancelot or Gran or even Fairy for all we know. Now, the game controls feel very nice. The default inputs are light, medium, heavy, and unique action. Overhead, block, throw, and special. And the special button just allows, I also have this posted up in the video as well, so you can kind of get a look at what it all says and does. But the special option just allows you to do your quarter circles or your quarter circle forwards, your DPs, or anything like that with a forward or a back or a down input. The game is very forgiving, as it allows easy access to these inputs because of that special button, and as well as that block button. And so it makes playing it on a gamepad like a DualShock 4 very comfortable. Now for stick, you can experiment with different layouts like I have, but the way I went about it, and I'll have it up in the video as well, is for my top 3 buttons, A, B, C, bottom first button D, and under C is block. So basically I gave it the Guilty Gear layout, but this way I had easy access to all of my button options, as well as block to prevent myself from getting crossed up, which reminds me of Mortal Kombat in a way. But it's still a very useful input to have, just block on tap, as well as you can force the opponent to whiff by doing a dodge input with block and back at the same time. There's probably more that could be said about the buttons, but everything else that I have to present about them is just subjective. So if you're a pad player, this game will feel very comfortable to you. And if you're a stick player, there's no worries, as it still feels very comfortable, even on a default layout. If you'd like to adjust the layout, by all means do it. I did, because I felt comfortable with the Guilty Gear layout. Now, overall, the game is a really nice touch, and it's a very fun game to play. The neutral aspect of it feels refreshing in a way that many players can feel at ease picking up and have fun playing. Whether you're a fan of fighting games or a brand new player, I believe this game will be very easy for both to pick up, and very fun for competitive and casual play. The amount of enjoyment that I had during my time of the beta is very difficult to describe, as even the matches in which I lost were fun for me. I would recommend this game to anyone. I hope to see as many of you pick this game up, as I strongly believe you will enjoy it. Well, this wraps up everything that I have to say about Granblue Fantasy. I'm looking forward to this game, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Nell, and I'm signing off. See ya.